I think that we have all of our distinguished guests in the room. Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final session of this workshop. This session will be focusing as the whole workshop on the EMF, 5G and the health, but in particular in Poland, in the Polish context. I have a great pleasure today to be accompanied by the representatives of the different communities. This is a multi-stakeholder panel which will point to the most important positions of different stakeholders on the Polish arena, and also highlighting the challenges which we are facing in the country. So as you know already from the program, we have the four speakers. And to your surprise, this will be interactive session. So please don't expect and don't prepare your photo cameras to take the pictures of the nice slides. This is nice slide. Now you can take the picture. There will be no slides. There will be the content discussion to animate a little bit not only our panelists, but also encouraging those who are looking for more clarification in the among you and to ask the questions. So we'll start and we'll kick off the panel with the very quick presentation from our colleagues from the ministry. Michał Połzun is represented today by Alexander from the ministry. And today the panelists who join us, we have the three additional panelists: Professor Andrzej Krawczyk from the Czestochowa University of Technology, Jerzy Żurek from the National Institute of Telecommunications, Director General of this institute, and Mariusz Busiło from the Polish Chamber of the Information Technology and Telecommunications, bringing to the discussion the voice of the private sector. But prior to starting our interactive discussion, let me give for not more than 5 minutes and not more than 7 slides the floor to Alexander. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Good evening. As Jarek said, my name is Alexander Sołtysik. I work at the Department of Telecommunication at the Ministry of Digital Affairs, and in place of Michał Połzun, I have a pleasure to present you the Polish context of 5G and EMF. Well, this presentation, as Jarek said, will be short, but and will, I guess, wrap up most of the things that have been told today. So I will concentrate on some key points. So this is the 5G that will come in place in about some years, and we consider that the 5G in Poland, with such EMF levels that we have today, will have a significant impact on the starting from the beginning. The 1 millisecond latency rate that is the requirement for the 5G will have a significant increase in capex spent on infrastructure, on content, because all of the infrastructure will have to be backhauled. Excuse me. Once again. We identify that the capex and operation expenditures will increase in case if such EMF levels will sustain in Poland. So this is the what we have today. So 0.1 watt per square meter. And this is the Polish levels that are from 20 to 100 more restrictive than ICNIRP levels. I would say that the most difficult situation is in large cities, where, for example, the base station equipped with 2100 megahertz hardware meets the limits. Adding facilities to use the recently, for example, awarded 1800 megahertz for 5G or LTE is not possible under the current regulatory framework. So in most European countries, these limits, as have been already said, are much higher. And for example, for 900 megahertz band, the limit is, for example, 4.5 watt per square meter. Let's move on. So this is also our conclusion that we were agreed during our agreement on 5G strategy in Poland, that these EMF levels will implicate the limited range of the base station grids, and that it will indicate the necessity of building the much denser infrastructure, much denser base station, which will be cost inefficient. And here we are at the bottom with Russia and Bulgaria. And here you can see the other countries with much higher EMF levels. And this picture shows the base stations. And this is also, this is from the GSMA study. What is the key point here? It's that the very low limit of EMF forces operators to build networks in a non-optimized manner. It results in increased capital expenditures. This, in fact, reduces the development opportunities to achieve the widest possible coverage of modern services and supporting the, in case of European Union digital agenda. I believe this is one of the most important graph because it shows better than words what we are dealing with. And this graph shows that the cell surface for the 0.1 watt per square meter and in comparison to 10 watt per square meter when applied the predicted cell range data. And the difference, as you can see, is huge, because very strict EMF levels may lead to at least 25 times smaller cells. I believe Mr. Jerzy Żurek will talk about the research which was conducted this year by the National Institute of Telecommunications. But what is important that during those research, also the Jagiellonian University Medical College, in a separate paper called the Medical and Biophysical Aspects of Radio Frequency Electromagnetic Radiation, which was the part of this report, outlined that the current state of medical research and diagnostics on the effects of electromagnetic waves on the human body, that it's not sufficient to that there are no sufficient facts that support that electromagnetic fields causes a serious human defects. So what is conclusion? Well, taking in consideration the possible capital expenditures, operational expenditures, and IRP levels with currently applied EMF levels. We believe as a Ministry of Digital Affairs that the deployment of 5G in Poland and probably in other ITU states will be at stake, because very low EMF limits will cause the necessity, as I said, to build and the necessity to build a very dense net of infrastructure, well, in terms of competitiveness, our operators will be at in other situation that their counterparts in Western Europe, for example, from those countries where the EMF levels are much higher. To some kind of wrap up, as I said earlier, and our ministry, our Undersecretary of State, Mr. Karol Okoński said, in June this year we signed the agreement on strategy for Poland, and this agreement identifies some barriers for the 5G implementation. This is one of the barriers that is identified by us, and that we will have to deal in the near future to implement, in fact, 5G in Poland. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. So the message is clear. Nothing will happen with the EMF level, and the NGN and the 5G is at risk. So let me turn to the Director General of the National Institute of Telecommunications of Poland and ask, so what in fact has been agreed at this 5G consortium and the strategy? As we understand, the problem is serious. It's really at stake. So what do you foresee to do?
It's complex, very complex and very difficult questions. First of all, I should start with a short story. I am also, a researcher, and I am a radio engineer. So all these discussions and problems you talk about today are very close to my heart, and I am very happy that you are all here today. In fact, tomorrow we will have a second Polish conference concerning EMF. I hope that some of you will stay with us. It will be a Polish event, so it will be in Polish language, but we have international guests. So I hope we will have more interesting discussions. In Poland, for many years, to say it, colloquially, it was relatively quiet about the levels and problems with EMF. In fact, 2.5 years ago, the discussion started, ignited by some rings of people concerned about human health and influence of radio communication networks and EMF. We are the only research institute which is or has expertise in this field. For many, many years we support our government and governmental institutions and agencies. Our experts are taking part in different activities around the world and take part in different professional bodies, working on standards and techniques. So it was natural that we had to support our Ministry of Digital Affairs, our Minister Anna Streżyńska, in these activities. And of course, our goal is to do it as objectively as possible and as scientifically as possible. So at that time, we started to prepare a campaign of measurements to check all the places in the country where people say that something is wrong with the EMF. We also discussed new, more precise techniques of measurements. Being involved in these activities, we started also to analyze the new techniques and networks which were coming, which were being discussed at that time. Then we reached the point of 5G. After long discussions, we decided, or we as a group of experts in Poland, that we need to start a initiative named platform or agreement for 5G strategy in Poland. As the institute, we organize the work of this body. We are responsible for all technical activities. The work of this agreement is organized in 6 different working parties. And some of them, they are also discussing the problem of new radio access techniques and the problems connected with EMF. And of course, on average, we have a relatively low level of EMF in Poland in comparison to, for example, Western Europe. But the problem is very sensitive in big cities and the places where the density of the network is very, very big. So we collect all scientific and technical opinions. We prepare some draft documents. Till the end of this year, the agreement has to provide a draft document for the minister. And in this document, the problem of EMF, which was described by Alexander, will be described. And what we would love to have in this document is a certain statement that we should all agree on common standards for whole Europe, and if it's possible for the world, of EMF levels. And this is a kind of necessity for development of modern networks in Poland. But I think that we'll publish the document, so everyone interested will be able to look at it. I hope that we'll take every aspect and put on the table.
Thank you very much for this good news. We understand that the 5G is under full control of the multi-stakeholder platform, which takes into account all views of the different stakeholders and represents also different interests of the different groups, including the private sector. But we are lucky today to having and today with us also the Mariusz Busiło, who is representing the voice of private sector, also in being involved on this platform. So Mariusz, we are hearing today a lot of in fact, putting in question the future of the 5G in context of the IMF. What is the private sector views on that?
Thank you for this question. First, I think that the most problems has been identified by colleagues from ITU during the whole very fruitful, from my point of view, day. In Poland, we can multiply them by 100. Yeah, you saw it in the norms. So the same problems you have, we will have hundreds times more such problems. What I would like also stress is that indeed Poland was among the first countries to implement 4G networks, and this is very important to commercially implement 4G networks. The first implementation in Europe was in Poland, the commercial one, the big one, the deployment of the network. And really, we would like to have the lead in 5G too. We would like to be modern and to offer our clients, our customers, very efficient services and very new services for the best price, of course. And so this is the perspective we look at the 5G technology as the opportunity for the services we have to provide to our clients. And the problem we do have, as in Belgium we heard, we have the similar output when we analyze this. It will not be possible without standardization. And this is the call we had from ITU, and that's as the private sector, we could only hear this and listen to this because we support it greatly. And standardization means for us the optimization of network, but also the optimization of communication to people. That if we have something outstanding, then we cannot follow the other best practices. We will not create good and well-organized networks. We cannot use fully the experience of international community, and we will never have a comparable results when we will have different networks. Everything will be different as it used to be here. So I really do hope for the support of the ministry and the regulation in this standardization. So this is my impression from this conference. But indeed, we do need this standardization. And what this standardization would give us, it's first of all, this is what has hit me with the presentation of Mr. Wood. Yeah, that was that we have to communicate with communities. Yeah, and it is not true, like Mr. Haim said, that if you make workshop, it means there is something wrong. You have to explain. It is half of the truth. We meet with the situation that we have not made the workshop for years, but someone did. So the people are looking for information, and that's good because we need to find this information. And if there is no information from the science available easily, people Google for the information. And if you Google, you take the first Google choice, you will find a lot of information about EMF. But it's not the science, it's the pseudoscience. And there are different interests behind it. It's often connected with the chemtrails, with the Flat Earth Society, and all this similar stuff. So we found that not making workshops doesn't work anymore. We need to communicate, and we need to communicate evidence and science-based information. And this is what we see as the challenge for us, telecoms, and for the representative of telecoms, of the market. And that's why we come for such workshops. We would like to listen to the scientific evidences and to give it to the people, to give answer to people basing on these evidences. So that's for now.
Thank you very much for this and for bringing this to this perspective. I spoke recently with my colleague, and he said, I don't know, if I don't know something about something, I go to the Dr. Google. We prefer here in our panel to go to the core of the competences in the field of the EMF, in particular to Professor Andrzej Krawczyk, who is a long-standing contributor to the development of the science and bringing the real results of the research projects related to this topic. We've heard from Mariusz that there is a big interest of the private sector on the increasing the transparency of this, what is discussed on the issue of EMF. There is a lot of information which is wrong, circulating in the web, but what is the truth? Professor, please tell us.
Wow, what is the truth? It's difficult question, like from Bible, you know. But anyway, I'd like to tell something about my standpoint in this matter. You know, I am electrical engineer. I am professor of electrical engineering, and then for me it was the most important was to research, to investigate the nature of electromagnetic field. And so then I work with I dealt with electromagnetic field for many years, but in transformers, in electrical machines and other devices, and then I moved to biological structures. And at first, the biological structures seemed to me be like electrical motor, you know, just material. And material with the current, material with some dielectric properties, you know, and then it is easy to consider this situation. I mean, the human body as the electrical device. It's easier, but it is not. Sometimes you have to change your mind, and then you have to consider the body as the quite new area of research. And then was my aim was to go deeper to this problem. And then I started to collaborate with medical doctors, with the professor of medicine, with the with the world of medicine. And then I found some good connection with them, and then we collaborate because I also work for the Military Institute of Medicine in Warsaw. So I collaborate very strongly with the doctors, with professor of medicine, and then we try to find the common point, because the point of medical world is quite different. They want to see the results only. They don't want to know about some mechanism. They look for the results. And then, for example, I collaborated with in the field of electromagnetic medicine. So you know, some stimulators and so on. And then I asked my colleague who is the great professor of medicine in Bytom, and I asked him, okay, how do you know that it works? And he uses to answer because patient feels better. So I say, okay, if I lie down for 15 minutes just and do nothing, so I will feel better too. So it is not the problem. This is just the introduction to my understanding of the problem. So I can't see any difference between 3G, 4G, and 5G from my point of view as the engineer, because it is the same electromagnetic field with different frequency. So all students, all my students, they know very well that the higher frequency we have, the thinner layer is attacked by electromagnetic field, by eddy currents or by some dielectric problems, properties. And then for me the difference between smaller frequency and the higher frequency is the layer, the depth of the penetration. The depth of the penetration. And in 5G, the depth of the penetration is really very small. So the problem is limited mainly to the skin. So that is new, maybe a little bit new approach to the health problem, because all the history of electromagnetic field from 5G will stop in the skin. And then probably we have to concentrate on this problem, how to investigate it, just what to do with this. It is the problem of course of heating. This is the problem of heating, and either the current and the dielectric properties they make the body warming up. And then in this case, in 5G will be the problem of skin only. And what is interesting, what I wanted to add, to my small presentation, that short presentation, it is that it is not new, because for biophysicists and for biologists, the problem of higher frequency is well known. So we have here Professor Ueno from Japan, who investigated these problems since many years, and tomorrow he will have a lecture at our conference, which was mentioned by Dr. Żurek. And then I invite you to listen to his lecture, because he will explain everything about some mechanism of lower frequency and higher frequency, and I will tell also about some phenomena of magnetophosphenes, which is now very popular, because the norms last issue of ICNIR was based on this phenomena. And then the problem of electromagnetic field and its influence on our health is the real problem of research. It is not the problem of emotion, what Mariusz said, but the emotions are very important, because, and especially for us, for the scientists, for the professors or scholars or the academicians, it's very important. It's very difficult, I wanted to say, because we cannot tell about the electromagnetic field in the simple words. So if I am invited to some discussion on TV with some people who protest, and so who do something against the base station and so on, I always I don't want to attend this discussion, because I'm not able to explain the nature of electromagnetic field, and using rotation and the divergence and other operators, and differential equations and so on, just to explain how to talk with the people who don't know the operation of rotation. Yes, so that is our big problem. So that's why I think that there is need some good communication between people who work like Mariusz with some political, not political, some social problems, and with us. So just to translate, to communicate, to make some interpretation between our scientific approach and this approach which Mariusz represents. And I think that we in Poland, it is our maybe good sign that we in Poland we try to build such a understanding between these groups or of influence, something like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. I think we brought to the discussion very clear message. We should control emotions, regardless whom we represent and what we are advocating for. Yes, regarding emotions, Alexander.
Yes, regarding emotions, and regarding the topic of a good level of communications between society and the government, I guess. So I believe that we have to we have some level of trusted institutions like WHO, ICNIRP, and we have to indicate their studies. I don't know if the operators are the best institutions, best bodies to tell the people that the EMF levels, higher EMF levels, are good to your health. I believe that we can leave it to the institutions that are dealing daily with the health issues, such as WHO, ICNIRP, or Ministry of Health, for example, in Poland. So this is my just the additional.
Thank you very much, Alexander. And let me now turn to Mr. Żurek. Oh, we have some question. Let me take the question.
Thank you, thank you. I asked you to ask me question, but I ask question. First of all, I'm very glad to meet here Ministry of Digital Affairs, Alexander, and the National Institute, very important. And if you remember 1 hour ago, I didn't feel well that all of us here are operators or Nokia, Ericsson, the providers. And I missed the administration. This is first. So it's good to hear them. And I even miss the electrophobes, those who are fighting to 0.7 volt per meter in Krakow. I miss them. I want to listen to them. The administration should listen to them. Socrates said we have to, in democracy, to listen to all of us. All of us. Aristo, not Socrates, Aristo. So this is first, and it is good. And for sure, not the operators and not the providers should write the standards. And Mike said it, Mike Wood, that it is ICNIR, WHO. You didn't mention IEEE. I know why, because IEEE is the operators and the providers. So this is the first point. And I'm happy that ITUT, that is driven by industry, gave the floor also to administration. So this is a compliment to ITUT and ITUD. Now, specific question. Let's start with Professor Żurek. You said that in Poland, it is a lower level than other countries in Europe. This is surprising because, to my view, if the penetration of cellular is similar and the number of base stations and so on is similar, so I don't see why in Paris that the penetration in French is lower than in Poland, why the exposure level will be here different than in French. This is first question to you. And the question to Michael, Alexander, you represent Michał, yes. And in the morning, we spoke about 5G and IoT. Gentlemen and gentlewomen, IoT and machine-to-machine is also delivered by short-range devices. It is also delivered by land mobile license services. So we don't have to connect directly between IoT and 5G. IoT in all the short-range devices can be operating today, unlicensed, without paying frequencies, or like LoRa. The system LoRa is not a 5G. To conclude, I had 3 questions, and 1 observation and 2 questions, and many thanks again that you invited ATDI.
Thank you for your comment and for the questions. First of all, I totally agree that everyone should be listened. Of course, I have my knowledge of physics, and I am convinced to some scientific positions, but I agree that everyone should be listened, first of all, and I always say that sometimes there are some phenomena about which philosophers were not dreaming. So we have to be very careful, and we have to be open-minded. A true scientist should be open-minded, and we should check every aspect of every problem possible in this respect. For example, I know that it might be difficult because it might be politically incorrect and it might be sometimes dangerous. For example, my dream is to build a big database of measurements here in this country to put all the data in one digital repository, and for example to correlate this knowledge, this data with areas where we have some problems, for example illnesses, to see if any correlation we could find. And addressing your comment about level and why we have such levels, to be honest, the penetration of mobile terminals in Poland is, I think, one of the highest in Europe, because we didn't have good wire communication. So when we started to rebuild our country, it was easier to build mobile networks. And this is simply historical stuff. And what is really crazy, we never revised our levels of EMF. Historically, somebody set it on such a low level. But when we have such low levels, and you are building, big base stations, that the bigger problem is the field near the antenna. So statistically, we have to put our antennas farther away from the places where persons are living or walking or operating. And that's why we have to have, taller towers, bigger installations on the roofs, and then this, awful devices, this big flat antennas, these cables in older type of equipment, these big boxes are more visible than, for example, in Paris and London. Then people who are walking around, they are more sensitive. They cannot understand the difference between peak power and average power, for example, and they do not believe that one flat panel antenna is radiating not too much watts of average power. The installation is big and awful, and if it's big and awful, probably it does something really bad and wrong. And, this problem is, as Professor said, also an emotional problem. But we have to be patient, we have to be careful, we have to provide true knowledge, answer all stupid questions, just to convince people. Sometimes, of course, there is a simple explanation. If it's dangerous, and so dangerous as some people say, we are using cellular networks in Poland over 25 years. Why are we still alive? Because in some, respects, we all should be dead. But of course, it needs a lot of work, patience and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm passing to Alexander.
Your question, yes. Where I believe you were just referring to my presentation. Yeah. This is the part of something bigger. So IoT is one of the technology that will be evolving with 5G. So this is the one of the part of the 5G, as with smart cities, ITS, and so on. So this is just was the indication that this is a part of something bigger. So.
Hey, thank you. Where we are inviting all stakeholders to join. Great, and now I'm passing to Mariusz. I know that Mariusz wanted still to make the comment.
Yes, exactly. Maybe some comments. First, I've never ever said or even tried to say that we would like to write any standards, and especially as healthy standards. We ask for these standards to be implemented because it helps us to have what was said here and it is very important, which is clear compliance rules. Yeah, and we want to follow very clear and very transparent compliance rules. Why? Because the public asks us, and public wants to check us. If the public wants to check us, we cannot communicate difficult measurements reports. We cannot put it on the website, as Dr. Żurek said, that we can put every measurement on the website. Yes, we have to do this, but first we have to communicate clearly to the people. We have to have standards, and I really enjoy the work ITU does on this, because we follow this and we know there are standards of the measurements and there are standards of the communication of this information, and that's good. That should be visible to public. So the good information and the clear compliance. And it is also something which I was talking with Mrs. Sabine Dürr during from NARDA during the break. We are talking about measurements, how to make the measurements, and there we have there is a very sophisticated equipment used for the measurements. It's from the one side, and it's good that there is such equipment. And I heard from one entity who implemented this, and we discussed it, that it was in the public presentation that the PhD, the engineer, was saying that he is going to do the measurements with this NARDA, with the very sophisticated NARDA. He enjoys the technology, but it's very difficult to learn how to program it, how to use it properly. And it was a word from the academics, from the engineer who is working on this and is implementing the issue. And from the other side, at the same conference, I heard about what I called spontaneous measurement hunting. So if you do not have standards and you do not have this equipment and the clear rules how to measure and how to publish the measurements, the people who want to know will buy cheap measurement equipment and will simply put on the website their measurements, their local measurements from some dosimeters or exposimeters and all these different devices which you can buy even for $30 on AliExpress. So, if we will not have a solid and clear and transparent regulation for the compliance, for the measurements, for the publishment of this, we will have the spontaneous measurement huntings, yeah? And there will be, indeed, the measurement result is something which we see is undisputable. It's very interesting that people do not need to understand the magic of the technology behind the meter, but they simply see the number, and the simpler they see the number, that's what they are happy. The differences between the numbers is like this, and it changes within 1 second and 2 seconds. It doesn't matter. There is a number. So, and if it changes, it means that it's difficult. So, what to look at for the maximum number? Yeah. So even you have the red point maximum numbers in this meter for $30. So this is which does not help to communicate and to discuss on merit. And we would like to have this discussion still as the market, and that's what I wanted to.
Thank you very much. And let me turn to Dr. Żurek. Exactly.
Just a few words in the context of measurement, because Mariusz touched a very important problem. Even now, we are doing measurements of aggregated power levels using this very sophisticated NARDAs, one of the most sophisticated in Poland. You know, in fact, many people does not understand that the number which is shown on the display in fact doesn't show the true power which is in the air, I should say. Measuring LTE with sophisticated decoders, you enter into the very sophisticated measurement instrument the load of the network, which is the load given by the norm for this kind of measurements. And then the computer calculates the power which would be existing in this point when the network would work under such load, which does not have place in this moment. And this is just LTE and 3G. So we are giving numbers, the levels of power, which would be present, and in fact, it is not present at the moment. The other thing is that with new radio, with new technologies in 5G, we will have different radio techniques access to the networks. It will be more complicated, especially massive MIMO and smart antennas. We have to discuss and agree on methods and procedures, how to measure correctly and what we will measure in future. And this is also very, very important. There was a lot of, opinions here. Some saying that some countries are considering average levels, average measurements. I think that this is a very important problem we will have to address in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Żurek. And maybe let's remain with you as we are arriving to the end of the panel. So we take the point that the measurement should be given a special attention, just to have the point of reference for any discussions. Of course, this measurement has to be also backed up by the solid knowledge. And this knowledge is built by the academia. And tomorrow we have learned that you are holding a huge academic scientific conference on the EMF. So this is the last chance to also depict what will be happening tomorrow. So maybe please share with us what we can expect tomorrow.
As I mentioned at the beginning, because of true need and interest of the society and people involved, we decided to start a one-day conference concerning EMF influence on organisms or environment. Last year, we did the first edition of this conference. We invited true scientists who do research and publish a lot and have a great experience. And we try to communicate and to share the most updated, achievements of science in this field. Tomorrow we will have second edition, new list of guests, also international guests, and some new research achievements will be discussed and will be announced. We hope that there will be great discussion tomorrow. What is very important, we are inviting everyone to this conference. The discussion is completely open, and last year it was visible. We had some guests with electromagnetic, stated by them electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Everyone was listened to. So this is, let's say, our input into the national discussion about EMF and this kind of stuff.
Thank you very much, and let me invite also Professor Krawczyk to add a few words, as he is
I would like
involved.
to add something about the conference which will be held tomorrow. The conference, as Professor Żurek said, is very important, but it is more general. But I would like to say some details about the conference. So the conference will gather some really big specialists of electromagnetic field and health. And we will have. I already mentioned about Professor Ueno, who is our brilliant guest from Japan. Also, we will have a very interesting man from Slovenia, Peter Gajšek. He is involved in the monitoring of electromagnetic field in Europe. So he established. He was the leader of the project, European project, connected with the monitoring. Now they established very nice electromagnetic map of Slovenia. It is really worth to follow them and just to look at his their effort. And we will have also the people who are involved in the electromagnetic medicine. One professor from Beton will come, and she will tell us about what electromagnetics can do positively. Not because we look at electromagnetic field in this whole just as the very negative factor, but it can be very positive factor, even if it works or not. But it is not negative only, you know. And then we will have some also about 5G, some very interesting presentation of Professor Bieńkowski from Wrocław, and he will tell us about how to measure 60 gigahertz field. You know, it is quite new challenge, new issue. And like for just finishing my talk, I'd like to say just some joke, not joke, which is true, but you know what is the reason that we have such a strict limit, very low limit of electromagnetic field in Poland. Russia is the inventor of these strict limits. And we followed, all communist countries followed them. Then some of them left this area, but we, Lithuania, Bulgaria, probably Hungary, Lithuania left too. Okay, so no? Okay. So that is a very few countries, very few states in Europe which still follow the Russian regulation. But the reason that Russia introduced this regulation many years ago is very simple. So you know probably to be better than America and other Western countries to show that we take care of our people much better than other Western countries which are capitalistic, very wrong, and so on. And then it is yeah. Yeah, the second is also. Yes, right.
In places where the signal is higher than the standard, got more money.
Yes, especially military people in Russia, because the electromagnetic field was used in military institutions. And then they wanted to get more money from government. So that now, if we say that we want to stop with communism forever, so it is the last remain of communism in our country. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we started from Poland, we ended by the international politics. This was not our intention, but during this session we learned a lot. We learned that in Poland the multi-stakeholder debate is going on with the full inclusion of all stakeholders. Academia is fully supporting all efforts of all stakeholders to make everything possible and to let and develop the enabling environment for the 5G to grow. We feel the commitment of the industry, but also of the government and of the other stakeholders to make the 5G reality and to make the best use of the 5G platform for the better future of the Polish nation. But before I will end. Also, we learned that there is the call for the harmonization of the levels, and this should be further investigated using the different platforms which were named during the panel. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me call for the round of the applause for our great speakers.